Today we will be ranking 10 Cinderella dresses. When it comes to the Disney princesses, sure, they have things in common, such as bravery, overcoming adversities, and being triumphant. But they also have their individuality and uniqueness when it comes to their personal stories. They all have that thing that we know them the most for. For example, Tiana and her beignets, Rapunzel and her hair, and Belle and her love of books. For Cinderella, it is most definitely her dress. So today we're going to rate 10 dresses from 10 different Cinderella movies in no particular order. I'll give you my quick breakdown of each look. At the end, I'll give my final rating. Okay, let's start with the 1950s version of the cartoon movie Cinderella, the classic Cinderella ball gown. When I think of Cinderella, this is the dress and silhouette that immediately comes to mind. This story was set in mid-19th century France. The shape and style of this ball gown appears to take inspiration from the gowns from the 1830s to the 1850s to the 50s. I personally love the high puff sleeves and the gloves, which were very popular in the late 1800s. Also, the choker was also very popular in the 1800s, which, as you know, made a comeback in the 90s. The style, though, is very 50-ish, from the hair to the cinched waist to the bell hoop skirt. Now, I will say, if you continue to watch my channel when it comes to my vintage content, you will soon grow to know that I do have a huge admiration for the 50s decade when it comes to the styling and the clothing. Actually, if I could bring back any vintage style, it would be the 50s. But I digress. Back to Cinderella. So as far as her accessories, I like that they were very simple. I do feel this look overall really shows her in a very classy and elegant way. I also really love the contrast of her hair being pulled up versus her big bell-bottom skirt. I think when it's done this way, it really elongates you and gives you a very beautiful and classy, elegant look. And last but not least, we cannot forget about the mobility of the dress, the way it beautifully glided along the ballroom floor. Alright, number 2, The Slipper and the Rose. Filmed in 1975, set in the 18th century. Now in this version of Cinderella, the dress was light pink with ruffles and trimming. Cinderella and the ladies at the ball also wore wigs, which is okay because it was set in the 18th century. The dress also came with a pink fur cloak. I thought the color pink for her dress was very interesting, and I know that when we think of Cinderella, we think of the silvery white or the light blue shades, but I will have to say that I often wondered if Cinderella's dress wasn't blue or white, what color would I want it to be? And I have to admit, pink did come to my mind, but for some reason I'm still kind of on the fence about the dress being pink, even though I would pick it for a second choice. As for the dress, I think that it was a flattering shade of pink, and I do like the white trimming. But when you get to the ballroom scene, I was a little thrown off that all the other ladies were also wearing pink ball gowns. Now I'm all for a monochromatic party. I love an all-white party, an all-black party, an all-gold party, etc. But not necessarily when it's for Cinderella. Now I do think that that could work, but you just have to be able to pull it off. I think no matter what, when Cinderella enters the ballroom, she definitely has to stand out, whether it's by her dress, her styling, her hair. Something about her has to be more engaging than the other ladies that surround her. But on the flip side, I do think the slippers were very pretty and sparkly and very perfect for Cinderella. I also wanted to mention with this movie that I thought it was kind of cool to see how the fairy godmother transformed her. Usually when we see Cinderella, we see the fairy godmother wave her wand and then Cinderella spins around and we kind of see her transformed. In this one though, the fairy godmother, she kind of used some practical things in the room to help transform Cinderella. For example, she used the mop to make her wig, and then you see her pouring glitter into a bowl, and then that transforms into her slippers. So I thought that was kind of different and cool. Number 3, Maid in Manhattan from 2002. Our Cinderella in this one is the beautiful J-Lo, Jennifer Lopez. One of my favorite things is when a classic story is modernized. I really thought that this was a nice modern version of the story. So keeping with the pink scheme, the gown in this one was also pink. So that brings me back to my question, if Cinderella's dress were a different color, would the next popular color be pink? Maybe we're on to something, I don't know. So the dress was a flowing strapless chiffon gown with very simple styling. I love the way the top of the dress is made, and I love that it was styled simple. Her hair was pulled up like the classic Cinderella from the 50s version. I will say though, for this dress, being very light and flowy without having that bell-shaped bottom skirt, I would have liked to have seen her hair down, of course pulled back from the front and the sides, but I would like to have seen it down on her shoulders. But overall, a very beautiful dress. Number 4, Rodgers and Hammerstein's Cinderella from 1997, starring the beautiful Brandy. This was significant because, and correct me if I'm wrong, this was the first time you saw the first black princess on screen or the first black Cinderella. The cast was multiracial, and I think Whitney Houston playing Brandy's fairy godmother is probably one of the best fairy godmother Cinderella princess duos of all time. This movie is iconic for so many reasons. Now as for the dress, it was a beautiful shade of blue tulle with white and silvery hints. The movie was not set in a specific time period, so you will see costume and style influences from the 40s and 50s. The bunching at the hips and the white gloves are also very similar and reminiscent of the 50s version. I like that the dress was off the shoulders, and I loved her hair being up. The dress is a vibrant and beautiful shade of blue, and the dress had beautiful movement. Now I do want to point out that in this film, like Cinderella, the other ballroom goers also were wearing a shade of blue. But we were just talking about the movie The Slipper and the Rose, and how Cinderella and the other ladies in the ballroom were wearing pink, and it kind of just did not work because your eyes kind of were taken off of Cinderella. But in this film, it worked. And like I said, if you do this type of color scheme, this type of monochromatic color scheme, it can work. You just have to do it a certain way. Now, as for the glass slippers, I was a little bit underwhelmed. I think they looked a little plain, a little regular. I do think with Cinderella, one of the biggest themes is also the glass slippers. So I do think that they need to be just as astonishing as the dress. But overall, a beautiful gown, a beautiful dress. Number 5, Ever After, a Cinderella Story from 1998. One of my personal favorites. Cinderella is played by Drew Barrymore, and I really love the acting. I really felt emotionally connected to her character. The story was based in France during the 1500s. The movie, like I said, had a realness to it, and it's probably because it was not based off magic, more so in history. So this dress is very different from the others. For one, the ball scene is a masquerade ball, so a traditional ball gown is not worn for this one. The dress was also very unique because it was Danielle's mother's wedding dress and shoes, which made the dress very special to her. The dress was worn off the shoulders. It was golden beige with beading, and it also had wings. It had a very romantic French style to it. It kind of reminded me of the dress that Clara Danes wore in Romeo and Juliet when they were also at a masquerade ball. I also loved the styling of her hair, which was a braid going around her head. It almost reminded me of like a halo, which complemented her angel wings, of course. I also really love the sleeves on the dress, and the glass slippers were not traditional, but really did complement the dress. Number 6, A Cinderella Story from 2004, starring Hilary Duff. So this is another modernized version of Cinderella. The dress is a wedding dress given to her by her fairy godmother, played by the beautiful Regina King. The dress is white with tulle and lace. The dress was also strapless and sparkly around the waist. Now, it was said that initially they wanted Sam's look to be more reminiscent of the 50s cartoon Cinderella, but the colors ultimately did not work on screen, so they decided to go with a Monique Lhuillier dress instead. Keeping with the masquerade theme, Sam also attended a masquerade party for her ball. She did wear a mask to cover her eyes. I did like her entrance. I did like that the dress previously belonged to her fairy godmother, so I thought that the color of the dress was also fitting, and you do have to keep in mind that these are high school students. Number 7, another Cinderella story from 2008. So keeping with the masquerade theme and the high school theme, this is another modernized version of the story. In this one, our Cinderella is played by Selena Gomez. The dress is red and the mask is gold. The dress is short with different layers of fabric. In the dance scene, the ballroom scene, she does a really, really nice twirl, and you can see the different layers and shape of the dress. The gloves are black. This movie has a lot of dancing in it because in this one, our Cinderella is a dancer. So in the ballroom scene, she does perform the tango, which is a big reason for the dress color and shape. And the shoes are also red as well. Number 8, Into the Woods, 2014. This movie takes place during the Middle Ages. Cinderella is played by Anna Kendrick. Now this movie is a little bit different because it doesn't solely focus on Cinderella. Although she's in the movie, she's not the main focal character. Cinderella's look was based off 18th century fashions, which you can see by the corset waist, and there appears to be some hoop or some layers on the hips as well. The dress has a greenish gold look with cap sleeves. The dress was not as full and traditional as the other dresses that we've mentioned in this video. So going back to the dress's color, in the movie, they did want the color to reflect her mother, the willow tree, which explains why the dress is not the traditional color, and the shoes were also gold. Number 9, Cinderella 2015, the live action remake. Can we just have a little moment for the dress? Costume designer Sandy Powell wanted to convey weightlessness with the voluminous skirt, which was made of more than a dozen fine layers of fabric in different shades of blue, turquoise, and lavender. And underneath those layers, Lily James, which plays Cinderella, wore a petticoat and a corset. There were 9 different versions of the gown that was created, each featuring 10,000 Swarovski crystals and more than 270 yards of fabric. It took 18 tailors and 500 hours to complete. The dress does echo the 1950s version when it comes to the cinched waist and the very full skirt at the bottom. The movie was not set in any specific time period or country, so it did allow for a lot of flexibility and freedom when creating the costumes and the dress. I do love the neckline of the dress. I love that it fell off the shoulders. I thought it was very dramatic and very elegant. I also thought the glass slippers were beautiful. Now they do look like real glass. They don't look really wearable. But I'm thinking along with the other magic that was performed, that the fairy godmother made them wearable, at least for the night, at least for Cinderella. Number 10, Cinderella 2021 with Camila Cabello. This was a musical, and this was also different because her character was a fashion designer. Now, I do think the dress was beautiful. It was white with a corset. There was bling around the corset and the sleeves as well. Speaking of the sleeves, I thought that was kind of different. It wasn't gloves that she was wearing. It was sleeves, but attached sleeves. There were also hoops at the hips. The shoes were beautiful and might be my favorite shoes from all of the dresses on this list. Now, for the moment when she transformed, I do wish that when she transformed, her hair would have been different as well. It looked like it was the same as before she transformed, and for me, when I think of Cinderella and the transformation, I want the full transformation, but overall, a beautiful dress. So now that we have broken all of the dresses down, let's rate them. I do want to say that I am basing my rankings off, number 1, the strength of the transformation, number 2, the ballroom entrance, and number 3, the mobility of the dress. Coming in at number 10, the slipper and the rose. Now I placed this one at number 10 because, like I said, for me, one of the main themes of Cinderella is her entrance into the ballroom. In this one, I felt like I did see her when she entered, But I did get distracted when I looked around and I saw all of the other ladies wearing pink as well. It kind of blended for me. I also kind of felt like if she were to go to the bathroom or she would have left the prince's sight, that he probably would have mistaken her for someone else. And we just cannot have that with Cinderella. She is that girl. When she enters that ballroom, all eyes have to be on Cinderella. And although I thought it was a beautiful dress, it was a little heavy for me. When I think about Cinderella, I think about weightlessness, I think about light and whimsical, so it just didn't quite do that for me. Number 9, another Cinderella story. I thought that this was a nice dress. It just wasn't a Cinderella type dress for me. Now I get that this movie was more so about the dancing and she did perform the tango at the ball scene. But for me, I have to have a little bit more of a Cinderella type feel. Now I do get that it was a modern take on the classic fairy tale, so I can appreciate them being unique, but it just didn't give me that overall Cinderella feeling. Number 8, Into the Woods. Now, this was a little bit tricky because, like I said, the story was not solely based on Cinderella, and I do understand why they made the dress the golden green color. So I do get that, but I still feel like the dress needed a little bit more volume, a little bit more movement. To me, it was missing something, and I really can't put my finger on it, so that is why I placed it at number 8. Number 7, A Cinderella Story. So this dress was nice. It wasn't overly spectacular. It wasn't overly underwhelming. It was a wedding dress. Although I do like that the fairy godmother did give her old wedding dress. It was still a wedding dress. It wasn't really a ball gown, but I do feel though, as far as her mask is concerned, it could have been a little bit more disguising or a little bit more bedazzled. I could clearly see who she was. She really wasn't in disguise to me at all. But other than that, it was just a nice dress. Number 6, Cinderella 2021 with Camila Cabello. Nice dress. I really like the dress. I like the color, I like the shimmer, I like the bling, I like the sleeves. The shoes to me were really, really nice. The only thing for me, like I stated earlier, is that when she transformed, I did want to see her hair be different to get like a full transformation. But other than that, I thought the dress was simply beautiful. Number 5, Maid in Manhattan. I thought the dress was beautiful. I thought it was simple. I love the movement of the dress. I love the styling of the dress. I thought the styling was very simple. However, because the styling was so simple, I would have loved a little bit more drama with her hair. Like I stated earlier, maybe falling down to her shoulders. And I also wanted to add, I loved her entrance. When she entered with the dress on, I will say that my eyes did go straight to her. So for me, that is a cool Cinderella moment. Number 4, Ever After, A Cinderella Story. So for me, this one got a lot of points for just being unique and different. It was not a traditional Cinderella dress, but it was a very beautiful and very romantic styled dress. I love the color. I love the angel wings. I definitely love the hair. And I felt the story, the dress, the masquerade ball. I felt that everything kind of just flowed all together with the look and the aesthetic. So that is why I placed it at number 4. Number 3, Rodgers and Hammerstein's Cinderella. So this dress was just a beautiful classic Cinderella ball gown. It did kind of remind me of the 50s cartoon version, but I really love the shade of blue that was chosen for Cinderella's dress. I love the mobility of the dress. And for me, in this movie, the colors were very, very vibrant. Not just for Cinderella, but for the other characters like the stepsisters and the stepmother. The color scheme was just beautiful. So that is why I placed this one at number 3. Now for my number 2 and number 1 spot, I really had a hard time picking between these two dresses. I love both of these dresses. They are both stunning. They both nailed it and knocked it out of the park for me. But I did have to choose, so I did have to analyze and look at every single detail to come up with my number 2 and number 1 spot. So for number 2, I did choose the Cinderella 2015 live action movie. Let me just tell you something. I love this dress. The color, the mobility, the way it glided along the ballroom floor when she was dancing with the prince. The the color blue, the shade of blue that was chosen for this dress is so beautiful and vibrant. Is by far my favorite color of a Cinderella dress. It is just gorgeous. It's just stunning. I remember just watching the trailer and watching the movie and watching her enter into the ballroom and leaving the ballroom. The scene where she's running down the steps and she looks back, that scene, that clip is so stunning. This dress is just beautiful, and I'm not surprised. I mean, the work and the time that went into making the dress, I'm not surprised at how stunning and beautiful it is. But I did take a point away for the butterflies on the collar. I didn't like the butterflies on the dress. I liked the butterfly on the shoe, though. Now, I was thinking that maybe we could put a butterfly or two in her hair, but very, very subtle. I love the glass slipper. It was really, really pretty. It just didn't look wearable, so I had to take a point from that. So there we have it. That is my number 2 pick. And now for my number 1 spot, without further ado, Cinderella, the 1950 cartoon version. Girl, you slayed that. I don't have any notes for you. I have nothing, and it's rare, me being as analytical as I am, that I have I don't have any notes. The hair, the dress, the style, every single thing from every single angle. And like I stated earlier in this video, when I think about Cinderella, this version, this dress, this silhouette is what immediately comes to mind. And so that says a lot within itself. I don't have any notes for this dress. I think it is classy, elegant, and beautiful, and embodies everything that Cinderella stands for, and that is why I chose it as my number 1. Well guys, that concludes our video for today. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.